Welcome to the Business of Hollywood podcast. I believe there's untapped genius in Hollywood. Think about it. Entrepreneurs have to develop resilience in the face of rejection, network to grow their business, market themselves, and sell themselves. Working actors in Hollywood, which make up less than 10% of the acting population, have to develop resilience in the face of rejection, network to grow their business, market themselves, and sell themselves. I'll be tapping into that genius in Hollywood, and you can expect to hear insider advice from Hollywood for today's entrepreneurs. Check out the rest of this episode to find out everything else you're going to be learning as we launch more episodes. Welcome to the Business of Hollywood podcast introduction episode. Rather than read off a script or try and memorize a script, which I don't like to do, I have got my good podcast hosting buddy, Steve Ramona here. He's going to ask the type of questions to get the type of answers that you want to know what to expect when the Business of Hollywood podcast goes live. Steve, that being said, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for having me, Mark. I'm excited to talk about this project and this podcast. Tell us what inspires you to get started.
I have a background in the improv world, and I was on the board of directors for Chicago Improv Productions. So I got to meet some of the people from TV and movies. And this was a while ago, and it's been stewing in my head ever since. And I realized, wow, the ones that make it, because I'm curious, I want to find out, how did you do what you do? I don't do selfies. I don't do autographs. It's just like, I got a chance to learn from genius here. And one of the things that stood out over the years is like, oh my God, it was improvisers or entrepreneurs. I mean, they're branding themselves, they're marketing themselves, they're networking, they're selling themselves. And finally, I just went, oh my gosh, went with the businessofhollywood.com, took the URL, filed the trademark on it, all that good stuff. And I realized people in Hollywood, let me rephrase this, because less than 10% of the actor population in Hollywood are working actors. That's their mainstream of income. They get health insurance and everything else. The working actors, less than 10% of Hollywood, I think they've got amazing business tips to give entrepreneurs. Because let me say, if you can make it in friggin' Hollywood, I think you can make it as an entrepreneur.
What are they going to learn, these actors and people in Hollywood, when they jump on the podcast and hear your wonderful guests?
What they're going to do, the podcast, this is a beautiful part. The podcast is actually for my audience of B2B entrepreneurs, thought leaders, coaches, consultants, speakers. It's people in Hollywood saying, here's how I branded myself, and here's how I got into the top 10%. And they're going to be sharing advice with their careers. Working actors and aspiring actors can listen to it too. But the angle that I came up with for the Business of Hollywood is, and the interviews I've already conducted that are yet to be released, it's working actors giving advice on things like selling yourself, personal branding, dealing with rejection, networking. They're giving advice saying, look, this worked in Hollywood, it's going to work in the B2B entrepreneur space. So that's the twist that I have on it. It's not technically just for working actors. It's actually geared for B2B entrepreneurs.
So those B2B entrepreneurs, what pain point you think you can solve with your podcast and with having these actors on?
I think the biggest one if you want to go broad strokes, inspiration. It takes a lot to be in the top 10%. So that alone is like, if someone can make it, I got to listen to them. And the other pain points, the big ones that I see, the first episodes I did, personal branding, you're just another face in Hollywood until you brand yourself the right way. People start to recognize you. Even if you're still doing calls, people start to recognize you. Networking is an episode we're going to have coming out. That's the second episode. Oh my gosh. A successful actor who trains actors. She brought up the power of networking and about you could make a contact in a bar, you can make it in an event. But what the problem is going to solve is the big pain points are going to be personal branding, overcoming objections, networking, and sales and marketing. Those are going to be the big ones because actors are an entrepreneur onto themselves. Entrepreneurs know that they're a business. I found the working actors, they know they're a business above and beyond just being an actor.
So what was the genesis that spurred this on? What did you see before you thought about this Business in Hollywood podcast and helping them? Was there an event or something happened that spurred this on?
It was the Chicago Improv Festival, definitely. From year 10, which was my introduction to the improv world, to year 20, which I was a president of Chicago Improv Productions, kept in touch with some of the people. And because I'm so inquisitive, I like to learn. If I talk to someone, I want to learn something from them above and beyond just let's talk about the weather or sports. And it was just enough conversations, and it percolated in my subconscious. And it just kept adding to it and adding to it. I'm like, wow, that sounds like a business. Wow, that sounds like a business. And talking to them in those conversations are what finally led me to say, whoa, the business of Hollywood. And the domain was taken. And then I had to wait for it to go through a 90-day expiration thing, took it, filed the trademark. But as far as where the inspiration came from, it came from talking to working actors from the improv world about their careers and how they built them. And I finally put the pieces together and realized, oh my God, there's advice for entrepreneurs in here. And that was the launch of it.
And is it easy nowadays to be an entrepreneur or to do something business online? Is that another reason this is going to be a great podcast?
I don't think it's easy. It's easy to technically start one and get an LLC
Okay.
and get a domain. That technically is easy. As far as the being online and starting a business now, cutting through the noise, I think, is the biggest problem with any new or new-ish, maybe even years 1 through 5 business, coaching, consulting, speaking, other B2B entrepreneurship ones. Cutting through the noise is the biggest one, and that's where I see the tie into Hollywood. Talk about cutting through noise when you got 3 people at a table in a warehouse. They're just like, oh God, here's the 96 audition. We'll do 97 to 98. Let's just do, when you can cut through that kind of noise, oh my God, you have golden nuggets for the business world.
Yeah, man, that's powerful. What's the frequency of your shows? When can people expect to see them or hear them?
It's going the see and hear when it launches in the coming months. At first, it's going to be twice a month, so every other week until I have enough guests to go weekly, or I just might keep it, but at least every other week will be the cadence for the show, launching on a Tuesday or a Wednesday of every other week.
It sounds like it's going to be enough times that people can access it. Where would they be able to access it? What different platforms do you think?
It's definitely going to be on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora. The service I'm using gets it through all of them. But because of the reviews and because of the power it has of getting reviews there and the ease of access and the number of users, it's going to be directing people preferably to Apple Podcasts.
Somebody listening, is there going to be a way to contact you directly to ask you questions?
As far as somebody like potential guests or listeners, or what
viewers listening, the listeners, they be able to interact with you sometime as well, not during the show, but after the show.
Oh, after the show, until I get too busy to take calls, which would be a really good problem to have. Definitely, it's going to redirect to a Business of Hollywood page. I'm going to put it at least at first right on my website, my contact information, my calendar, everything's there. So yes, I'm going to be open to people reaching out to me.
And let's do a real quick history as we come to the end here. You've done how many episodes on your previous podcast?
I published episode 151 today.
So you have experience doing that. Did that help you launch this podcast?
Immensely. Getting the cadence of an interview. The podcast will be 20 to 25 minutes, give or take a couple minutes here and there. But having the style down, an interview style, knowing what type of questions to ask. My big thing is storytelling. I want each podcast to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, not just 10 random questions. And I never ask the same questions. I'm not one of those. Let me ask you, every person, the same 10 questions for 60 minutes. It's an improvised 20 to 25-minute conversation. The energy stays high. We have a lot of fun. And that's what you can expect every other week.
Let's end with this. Let's talk about podcasting with your experience. The people listening, these business owners, B2B, and what they're going to get. Why should they look at starting a podcast, and how is it going to help them?
Networking. I know you and I are on the same page. You could talk about this longer than I could talk about this with your 3 podcasts and your shows. I believe it's networking. You hit a certain stage where if you want to meet someone and pick their brain, especially if you're into B2B coaching, consulting, speaking space, they get paid a ton of money to have their brains picked. If you build an audience and you want to learn something, and then you call them, say, hey, I'd love, like with you, we've done it with each other, with me with idea climbing, with you with podcasting. I'd love to bring you on my show and introduce you to my network to talk about how to start a podcast. People will say yes because you're helping share their advice above and beyond everything I knew when I started my podcast. And getting to it, even 151 episodes, that is not going to be a primary source of income unless you're at least, and I really mean this, intentionally using this word correctly, literally business famous. You're not going to make a great, amazing living with podcast sponsorship. Networking, growing your business, helping other people grow their business, helping your guests grow their business, improve their business lives by being introduced to your audience and having a conversation after you stop recording. How can you help them? They're going to ask how they can help you. Magic happens. And that's the best thing without getting on a complete and total soapbox. It's a networking business relationship building tool. And it's like networking on freaking steroids if you do podcasting the right way and practice the craft.
And audience, this is a little snippet of what you're going to learn with Business in Hollywood that he's going to bring his guest on to teach you things like that, networking to grow and scale your business. Mark, I look forward to a great podcast, a great number of podcasts. I can't wait till it launches.
Thank you very much. And in the meantime, and even after it launches, it'll be linked to the site, and you can find out how to contact me at markjcarter.com. That's markjcarter.com. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate you as always, my friend.
You're very welcome.
And scene.